Hi guys. Sorry I'm catching you on a Wednesday instead of Tuesday. It's been kind of a a weird week for me. So I think I posted about it, but yesterday morning I got my second COVID vaccine. So don't know what that is. Um, so I was a little off the yesterday and today. My schedule was delayed, and then I had a little bit of side effects. Not too bad. As far as like thankfully not nauseous or anything like that, because I know some people have dealt with like flu-like symptoms. For me, the second vaccine was just aching, fever, fatigue, stuff like that. So everything got pushed back this week, including my Tuesday live. But here we are on Wednesday, because I always want to be able to help you during the week. Okay, so today's topic, talking about ditching cold jargon and how to write more clearly and conversationally. This came up in my group last week. One of the bookkeepers in there, she said that she's been writing stuff, but it always seems to come out too almost clinical, too corporate. And if you have been writing for corporate for a while or had, like a 9 to 5 job at a big company, you probably are used to that expectation. But there are ways to transform your copy so that it is more like a conversation, so that it is more warm and attractive and persuasive, honestly. So I'll go ahead and go through that. I've got 3 abstract tips. I'll go into concepts. I'll also give you 4 tips that you can look into right away. So if you have something already written out, these are 4 things that you can spot super fast. And then also 2 tools that you can use. I actually really like these, and one of them I use all the time. I actually use the paid version for, but there's a free one. Anyways, so all right, I'm gonna jump in on how to basically warm up your writing. Um, all right. So first tip, again, like I said, I'm gonna start with 3 more abstract things that you can't just go in and check off with a red pen. You kind of have to like analyze a little bit. So the first thing is what you want to do when you're writing your copy for your clients, for your marketing. You want to have a conversation with a single person. No lectures, no monologues, no soapboxes. You need to get off of your soapbox and instead sit down at a table in a coffee shop. You are having a conversation. And I know that feels kind of weird to get used to because writing feels like a very one-way thing, but there are ways to make it a conversation. And I'll go into that, more throughout this slide. But for example, asking questions. Even though they're technically rhetorical, it makes it more engaging. You aren't just talking at them, you're trying to pull them in, right? Anyways, I'll get to that in a second. So have a conversation with a single person. Don't try and talk to everyone. You'll be a generalist, you won't connect with anyone, so don't try and talk to everyone. Pick one person to have a conversation with. In general, in copywriting, it's picking your ideal client to talk to, right? So in that conversation with a single person, when you're thinking about talking to a friend at the coffee shop, how does that conversation go, right? One of the things that you do when you're talking to your friends, you tell personal stories. And that's also a good idea in your business content. I know this is something that certain bookkeepers especially feel a little weird about, including that personal angle or touch to what they're writing about their business. But it's actually a really good tactic for getting likability, for creating empathy, and for making people feel like they're similar to you. That's a very important buying tactic, sales tactic. You want people to feel like you're kind of the same person, that you have commonalities. We're more likely to buy from people that we feel like we have things in common with and who we like. So when you're telling your personal stories, you're bringing in that element. So don't just, so a good way to do this is, for example, through testimonials or through personal stories in your life. So if you're not comfortable telling stories about yourself, tell stories about other people who have used your product, used your services, and this is how it happened in their life. Tell stories, make it more personable. Also, don't be afraid to be funny. People get cold emails all day long. If you can throw in kind of a joke of some kind, just something a little bit humorous, go for it. Now here's something to keep in mind that I actually suggested to one of my coaching clients. He was having a hard time also with kind of like thawing out his language, but when he tells stories, he's a great storyteller. So what I told him to do is there's this adder called Op, and let's try that again, an app called Otter, there we go, where it'll record and transcribe what you say in this app. There are free versions for a limited amount of minutes or words or something like that. that way he can tell his stories in his animated way and not worry about writing it. So that's a good kind of like back door to make sure that you're talking in a conversational way, that you're not just giving a lecture. You don't want to give lectures, no one wants that. So have a conversation with the single person at a coffee shop. Second, more abstract tip, don't write to impress. No one cares. No one cares that you want to impress them. So don't feel like you have to use a bunch of big words. Don't feel like you have to use a bunch of insider language. Your goal here is to communicate clearly, okay? You're not trying to impress them because that isn't usually impressive. So one of the ways that you want to avoid, the impress thing, avoid jargon. So for example, I know very little about, like the finer points of hairdressers. So low lights, asymmetrical cut, ombre, balayage. I don't even know if I said those words right. If a hairdresser said those things to me, trying to explain stuff to me, I would need more help understanding all of the things and what they entail. So another thing, like with bookkeepers, sometimes you guys will use terms like accounts receivable, or I'll get you a P&L, or have you reconciled your statements this month? You may be using jargon that you're not aware of in your content, so you want to make sure that you are avoiding as much as possible, and then simplifying the language. So I don't know if you've heard the story of Apple, but Apple, the idea was computers used to be a very technical thing that everyday users, like you and me, that everyday users felt was unattainable. So what Apple was trying to do, Apple was trying to take a very technical thing and sell it to non-technical people. So Steve Jobs actually started out with this ad that was all of this technical gobbledygook about computers that lay people who are not in the field, have no understanding of, feel alienated by, had no interest. Because their target clients were not people who understood industry jargon, he had to change his method of advertising. So now when you think about Apple advertising, they're not listing a bunch of crazy detailed specs, right? They're trying to market to people who don't speak that technical language. So they succeeded when they ditched the technical language. There is a caveat here. So in general, avoid jargon, especially if you feel like it makes you sound more official. It doesn't. Clarity, clarity, clarity. Don't write to impress. That's not the goal of what you're writing. You're writing to communicate. You're writing to be clear. There is a caveat here when it comes to jargon, and this is audience specific. If you're talking to another business that comfortably understands some or all of your technical terms, or like alphabet soup, are they someone who understands what B2B or B2C is, business to business, consumer, or business to consumer? So you can see how, like, you don't want to over-explain things, but you also don't want to just throw a bunch of technical jargon in their face and leave them to deal with it, right? And also, if you use jargon the right way, depending on your audience, again, you need to know what your audience knows when it comes to your industry. It could be something that makes them feel a little more like insider or exclusive, which is a really good thing to do when it comes to your content. So for example, a Starbucks lover, you're going to want your content to say things like grande. Don't say medium. People who really like Starbucks, who you're talking to specifically, they're going to want to hear grande. It's that kind of like, exclusive thing. I know I want a grande. That's in my speak. So this is where jargon can be a good thing. In general, you want to avoid it. But it all comes down to if you have a doubt, if you have a worry, avoid it. Simplify your language. Try not to do the jargon speak. And when you're in doubt, run past a couple of pieces of content with friends. Even just email something real quick. It's just like, look, I know you're not in my field. I need to know if someone can understand this. Do all of these words make sense to you? Are they familiar? Do I need to clarify things? And it will make your messaging so much better. I know it feels like an extra step, but you'd rather know exactly what you need to clarify than write, things for 3 months and then realize no one's understanding your content, right? So another part of not writing to impress, you can use colloquialisms and slang, because remember, we want to have a conversation at a coffee table. We want to talk the way that our clients are talking. So, of course, not offensive for the most part, depending on your brand. If you're like, what is it, Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, that's different. That's a different person. Same with Gary Vaynerchuk. They may curse and that's part of their colloquialism. You don't have to, but slang isn't a bad thing. So just to give you an example from my Hebrew lessons. So of course you have to start out with grammar to really get the basics of what you're communicating. However, it was really important for me over the past few months to start learning a lot more slang. And here's why. So because people don't talk in specific perfect grammar. They talk like humans. They talk with slang, and it's how they talk. We like to hear things the way they're said. So for example, people don't say I want ice cream, ani rotsa glida. They say I feel like ice cream, ani bali glida. Okay, that's an example. There's another slang phrase that's altidag, don't worry. Now literally that translates to something about on taking care, but everyone understands that when you say that altidag, don't worry, it's got more of a heft to it. It's got more of that understanding, that normal speaking, right? So here's the thing. As I started to learn more slang, more colloquialisms, more imperfect grammar that people use every day, what I understood in conversation went way up because that's how people talk. People aren't talking in perfect grammar Hebrew here in Israel. They're talking in slang. They're talking conversationally. And my ability to communicate with them and understand them went up once I used this stuff. So don't be afraid to add some of that into your copy. Think about how you would talk in a coffee shop. And again, if you're not sure something is jargon or things like that, talk to one of your friends. So third abstract tip. So the first one was have a conversation with a single person. Don't write to impress. Doesn't matter, you're trying to be clear. And then 3, clarity trumps grammar. You're not writing this for your grammar teacher. You're not, your English teacher isn't going to come in with a red pen and mark it up. We don't care. We're grown-ups, so we don't care as much about grammar anymore. So there are things that may feel like they're wrong, but again, kind of like I said with the Hebrew slang, it actually is more clear. I understood more having those slang words rather than understanding, the perfect grammar in Hebrew. It was better to learn how people actually talk, not just what's perfectly grammatically. See what I'm saying? So for example, what this looks like when you're writing, as far as clarity trumping grammar, use short sentences. Use short paragraphs. It gives this brevity, it gives this energy, this clarity that's really good. It also gives a white space for people to feel comfortable and let the eyes breathe. You don't want to smush everything into a 10-sentence paragraph. It gets overwhelming from a reading and copywriting perspective, right? Also, start sentences with prepositions. Whoa, I know, all the grammar Nazis just, had a heart attack. But it does something that gives more energy. For example, I just started that sentence, but it does something. But you see how it just adds this this energy because of this. With that, you're trying to write like people talk, and that's how people talk. And again, I like this way the way I said it on a copy blogger, which is a good website if you're wanting to learn more about this stuff. Writing is not about sticking to grammar rules. It's about communicating ideas with clarity and personality. And I love that. Again, clarity trumps grammar. You want to worry about that and not your English teacher's red pen. We're past that. It doesn't matter. You want to write like people talk. You want to write clearly. So those are the 3 abstract tips. Have a conversation with a single person. Don't write to impress, and focus on clarity over grammar. And then here are 4 tips that you can actually look at right now. You can take this and run through any piece of copy, and you can make really big changes really fast. So again, these are fast. 1, did you write in first person? This is a really easy way to change things up. Some people feel like they have more authority if they talk in third person, and it's not as personal. Act like you're writing a letter. Act like you're writing a letter if that helps. You're talking, if it's an individual, talk from I, or if it's a team, you have a company, we, talk to you. Make sure that you, the word you, is one of the most powerful marketing words there are. We respond to that. We want to hear about ourselves. So talk to them about them. You, how can I help you? This is what it will do for you. I want to help you in this way. Again, remember, this goes back to the coffee chat. I am telling you a story. So make sure that you're speaking in first person, like you're writing a letter or having a conversation. Don't feel like, again, we're not trying to impress. The whole third person thing, you don't want to impress. So 1, did you write in first person saying I and you? That's what you want to do. Number 2, did you use contractions? Again, this goes with how people talk. People don't usually say will not, cannot, she will. They say can't, won't, she'll, will. It's how we talk. So even though any more grammatically correct or feel more impressive to like spell that all out, you don't have to. Contractions make things warmer, more personable. It's how we talk. This is how you inject that in there. So look and make sure, do you have contractions in there? Are there places where you can do contractions? Something I like to do sometimes is even to drop the G off of something. So instead of feeling, I'll put feelin' and a little apostrophe, just because that's something, that's a way I talk, that's how other people talk. It's a warm way of saying it to put more, tone into it. See? Again, we're trying to connect with people, to be warm, be conversational. So use contractions. Look for that. So did you write in first person? Did you use contractions? 3, did you use adverbs? Now, I know this is a whole grammar thing, but this is a really good way to really make what you wrote a lot more powerful. So adverbs are those words that typically end in ly. So walk slowly, run quickly, eat hungrily, or something like that. I don't know. So what you want to do, if you see that, you want to smash them into one better verb. Verbs are one of the most wonderful parts of writing that make your content really pop out. Good verbs make all the difference. So you don't want an ly. Stephen King says the road to hell is paved in adverbs, which I think is hysterical. So if you have something in there that says walk slowly, try and think about what a single verb would be that's more descriptive, that captures both of that. So walk slowly. Okay, saunter. Maybe change it to saunter. Okay, run quickly. Okay, change that to sprint. Do you see how it has that different feel? It's more precise. It's more crisp. So look for words that end in ly. Look for words that modify your verbs and try and smush it down. It's a really good way to make things pop. And then your 4th tip that you can do immediately, did you ask questions? If everything you put in there is pretty much a statement, then you can be pretty sure that you're just talking on a soapbox and having a lecture. Did you ask questions? This is a psychological tip. This is a copywriting technique. Ask questions. This is a really good way to make sure that you are having a dialogue and not a monologue. Again, it feels weird, but when you ask questions, it actually engages the brain. It feels rhetorical. It might feel kind of strange because, of course, you can't hear what they're thinking or saying. But it is a really good way to get them mentally involved. We're built to respond to questions. So 4 instant tips: look over your content, whatever you're struggling with. Did you write in first person, I and we and you? 2, did you use contractions? Throw them in there. 3, did you use adverbs? If it ends in ly, find a way to smash it with the verb or take it out. And 4, did you ask questions? Super easy things that you can add right away and will make a difference. And there are 2 helpful tools I can suggest to you as well. One is Otter. I had the link to it in the description of this video. There's a free trial period up to a certain number of minutes. You can record yourself explaining something out loud. Like I said, sometimes it's easier to get that conversational tone by actually saying it out loud first. So use a transcription app. It'll automatically transcribe it. You can clean it up, but you'll have a more natural sounding text to work from. There's just something different about saying it out loud versus typing. Even Brene Brown, by the way, she's on one of her more recent books, she went this route. She told stories to her best friends and then turned it into like text for her book because it was easier that way for her. So it is a method. It is something that works. So use Otter. The link is in the description. Another one I want to suggest to you is Hemingway. This is a really good one. For those of you who aren't sure if you have a run-on sentence or if it's unclear, stuff like that, Hemingway is great. It's a free app. Again, the link is in the description of this video. It'll help you identify complicated writing, sentences that are too long, verbs that are too passive. It goes beyond like what Microsoft Word does, because Microsoft Word is just like your grammar Nazi pointing out misspellings and stuff like that. Hemingway goes the extra mile and helps you analyze your content for readability. All you gotta do is copy and paste. It's free, it's great, it's super helpful. It gives you a readability score, aim for 9 or less, and also when it comes to, and sometimes when you have like those kinds of tools and it's asking you what reading level, shoot for middle school in general. Middle school content means that you are clear, use small words that everyone understands. In general, again, there's exceptions for everything. I'm just talking about in general. So, but anyways, Otter is a great tool. I use it all the time. I have the paid version actually, and Hemingway is a great tool too for helping you get the readability better and figure out where are the problems and how do I solve it. So anyways, that is what I have for you. That's how you warm your copy up, how you make it sound like you're talking instead of just lecturing, how you connect with a single person rather than just lecture the masses. So, and here's a good thing, even if you write a first draft that's not conversational to begin with, you can edit it. Pretty much all good writing is edited, and the first draft is probably crap most of the time, and that's okay. It can be edited. Again, go back, use the tips that I gave you as far as like what to look for, contractions, adverbs, questions. Go in, add it. Editing is part of the writing process, so don't feel discouraged if your first draft doesn't feel very good. You can warm it up. You can thaw it out, I promise you. Anyways, that's what I have for you today. If you have any more questions, just let me know. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good week, and I will talk to you guys next week, okay? Bye.